podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome to How Are The Podcast. It's Gav and you join us for something a little bit different, a bit of a break from the relentless nature of football as we've been previewing and reviewing games. Today we're going to talk about transfers because in 4 days' time the transfer window slams shut at 7 o'clock on Monday evening. We will be podding on Monday evening and reacting to whatever happens on deadline day, but this can be the precursor to such a thing. We are going to chat all about what could potentially happen between now and then because Sunderland still need to recruit players. We've got an awful lot of players to get rid of, and what happens will be interesting. So we are joined today by Johnny Hawley, who's going to chat through this with me. Hello, mate.
All right, Gav. It's nice to be back, and I was going to say it's nice to be talking about something a bit different, but we do also talk about transfers in the news updates quite a lot. But this is at least slightly different. Who's Chris Rigg or Job going to every week for 6 weeks? And then is Granit Xhaka or Lucumi coming in for another 6 weeks?
Well, if you think about it, we spent most of the summer podding sometimes twice a day on transfers. And then it's went a little bit quiet, as it does, because transfer windows tend to pick up right at the end, don't they? Particularly with Sunderland. I mean, over the last sort of 4 or 5 years in particular, it's almost as though we've waited until the end of the transfer window to go a bit balmy. And I'm still expecting us to sign a few, and we're going to go through it in a bit. But it's actually the outgoings which interest me most, weirdly. We've got loads of players, I think, which will probably leave between, like I say, between now and the deadline. But yeah, it's been an interesting window, hasn't it? I mean, we'll leave sort of the inquest for when the pod's recorded after deadline day. But I mean, I never expected to have signed as many as we have. It's been wild, hasn't it?
It's been, without a shadow of a doubt, the most exciting transfer window of my Sunderland supporting lifetime.
Oh, ever, yeah.
And I imagine that's the same for most people, regardless of how many extra years they might have on me, which is probably a few in some cases. But it's been ridiculous, hasn't it? And I think it's a good thing that we've got so many in so early, because with how many we've got to go out, if we were all sat desperately awaiting a notification from the club that such and such is signed, we'd all just have blue balls from watching like 10 notifications of such and such is out on loan for 6 months, Bar's gone to France, such and Rusyn's gone to Ukraine or whatever. And we'd all be like, oh, how are admin? Can you just give us a signing? But now we just get to watch all the chaos unfold with the outgoings and kind of wash our hands of it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, the fact that you have if you do have a quiet couple of days in terms of incomings, it can mean one or two things. It means you're just not very good in the transfer market, or you've done the majority of your business and your bulk of business early in the window, which is what we've done. I think what we up to 11, 12 players. I've actually lost count. And we're obviously going to sign a few more, but I think if it is a little bit boring for people, they shouldn't lose sight of the fact we've done so much. I think, it's easy, isn't it? Especially after a couple of defeats where, you can sit there and go, well, we need this and we need that and we need the other. But the composition of the squad, I think, has been sort of rigorously thought over. And you can see where we actually now we're just looking at it and going, we need to tweak in a couple of places, really, which is, I think that's a sign we've done this, navigated this window quite well.
Yeah, and we're the opposite of a panic buy club, aren't we? I think certainly in the past that could have been
cough, Newcastle, cough, begging for every striker in Europe. Yeah.
We're not trying to chuck 60, 70 million at Wolves for Strand Larsen, so I think we've done something right. But certainly in the past we could have been accused of being panic buyers at various times, even through right down to the League One years, which for a League One club to be known as a panic buyer, I think shows you how desperate things have got. But it's been a totally different story the last couple of seasons, and this season in particular. As we've just said, so much business done early, and there'd be some people, without a doubt, who, if we hadn't signed 2 or 3 of the big ones yet, and we brought them in between now and deadline day, they'd be over the moon, they'd be excited, they'd be thinking, oh, look, that shows the ambition. But we've had them in, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago in some cases. And, I mean, again, we've kind of covered this ground really on some of the match reaction pods, but I don't think we'd have started the season the way that we did if we hadn't had people in as early as we do. So it's a massive plus from that side of things. But yeah, it's that double-sided coin, isn't it? It's your outgoings fund your incomings.
Yeah.
So we've had the fun and we've done the nice bit now of like all the scarf picks and such for 20 million and such for 30 million. And we do need to do some of the maintenance bit now, which is trying to cycle on some of those players who are maybe less of a future at Sunderland, shall we say.
Yeah, before we chat about who that might be, we might as well do the incomings first, given it's a shorter list. Like I said, we've already done the bulk of our business. Defence. Now, I think it's clear we're going to try and sign a centre-half. I'd be shocked if we don't. As we've said repeatedly on this podcast over the last probably 6 weeks now, it's very clear the club are not going to give up on Jhon Lucumi. And he's a player who we've heard quite a lot about. I did a podcast with Alex Barker last week. If anybody didn't hear that, you can catch up with it. Alex Barker from The Athletic giving us some insight on Jhon Lucumi and what kind of player he is and what we could potentially expect. But the fact that we just will not give up on this guy and we've tailed him for the full window says we really, really want him. And Bologna know that. It probably hasn't helped our cause that Dan Ballard's picked up an injury. Probably hasn't helped our cause that we're having to hold back, allowing other players to leave because we're so desperate. There's been rumours about a potential issue with Alderete heading into the weekend. We fielded a centre-back pairing in the cup of Arthur Masuaku and Nordi Mukiele, who are technically fullbacks. I think Mukiele, he's a bit of more of a utility player, but Masuaku having to play centre-half because we don't really have that many backup players fit and available at the minute. Kind of doesn't help our cause when we're trying to secure the signing of a player who really Bologna don't want to lose. And if they do lose him, they want Sunderland to pay what they feel he's worth. And early on today, I mean, we're recording this late on Wednesday, but earlier in the day, Fabrizio Romano did tweet an exclusive where he said Sunderland send improved bid to Bologna for Jhon Lucumi worth €28 million plus a 10% sell-on clause. Sunderland want Lucumi as a priority target. Bologna insist on keeping the Colombian centre-back. So it's very easy to see what's happening here, Johnny. Time's running out. We're getting a little bit desperate. Bologna know that if they just hold out as long as possible, Sunderland are probably going to pay what they think, but what Bologna think he's worth. And if they do miss out on a windfall with this one, it's probably not the end of the world for Bologna. They can reintegrate him. I think he played at the weekend, didn't he? So it's not as though he's done an Isak and kind of that's second Newcastle reference already on this. We need to give up. But he's not done an Isak and fucked it off. He's still making himself available and playing and stuff. But it has got a bit nasty. I think the agent came out and said things. The Bologna chairman's came out and said things. I think the manager's been quoted in saying things about this. It's getting a little bit messy, but Sunderland will not give up on Jhon Lucumi. So the question to you is, are we going to sign him, do you think?
Well, I was going to say $1 million question, but I suppose that's the €28 million plus 10% sell-on fee question. A week ago, or even as up to a few days ago, I was still very convinced we were going to sign him. But now I'm just starting to get the feeling it's dragged on that little bit too long. And you do wonder whether it just reminds me of Alexandre Mendy and the way that all started. I know it's a totally different situation.
Not with the play you've compared. I just mean, as Bologna, as I said, if they hold the cards here, they just hold on for a day or two more. They're going to get a little bit more out of us. I think that's all it is, to be honest.
Yeah, the thing is, I think for me, the worry is the amount, and look, take what you read in the media with a handful of salt, because who knows what the real figures are and what's happening in the real negotiations. But it's, in a weird way, it's worried me how not different the fees are every time it gets reported. It's like, oh, we've bid 24 and then it's 26 and then it's 28 or whatever.
That's still a canny jump, a couple of million though.
Yeah, I know. Actually, it's a good point to put it.
I wish I had £2 million quid.
And considering the fees we were not able to pay a season or two ago, it's not so bad. But I don't know, when it's quibbling over such small amounts like that, it might be a total, like, just a snapshot, 1 second overview of the situation, and I'm jumping to conclusions, but it just feels like it's all getting just a little bit too catty and a bit too, the agent's saying this and the club is saying that and all the rest of it. Whereas actually, from the actual player's side himself, like you say, he played at the weekend, it feels a bit too business as usual on the football side for me to be that confident we'll get him. I still wouldn't be shocked, mind. If he's a Sunderland player come whatever time it is, 7 o'clock on Monday evening or whenever, then I'll not be like sat here absolutely unable to grasp the reality of the situation. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something about the way that it's dragging on doesn't quite sit right. But having said that, as much as I agree with you that Bologna hold all the cards, because obviously he is their player and they can keep him and he's still playing for them, I think it's also nice for us to be in a position of strength as well, where we want him and he'd be very useful, but we don't need him. It's not like if we were in the position where we hadn't brought in Mukele or hadn't brought in Alderete, where you'd be going, actually, if we don't get him in, it's going to be one hell of a long season. I think if we don't get him, I think we'll be okay. I don't think we'll be up a creek without a paddle, but do you know what I mean? It's not quite a make or break for me.
I feel slightly different. I think when you look at the current situation, which is Ballard's picked up an injury. All right, he might only be out for a few weeks, but this is not an unfamiliar thing. Ballard's picked up an injury, and then all of a sudden we're looking at Jensen Seelt to play games. Jensen Seelt, that he was told he was going out on loan. Obviously, NEC Nijmegen have hung on right through the month. We're going to get on the outgoings and Seelt will feature, but the point being is that's how close we are to just using somebody we don't really want to use. I actually think you need four proper centre halves in the Premier League just to stand a chance of staying up. So I actually think it's really important we do. Maybe not, it doesn't have to be make or break on. It has to be Lucumi, but I think we need to sign a centre half. I think we need a centre half regardless of whether it's him or somebody else. And I think the club know that, which is why they've hung on for him. They obviously really rate him and they think he's going to make a massive difference to the team. And actually, I'm quite excited by the fact that we've just hung on for him, because this is, it was to a lesser degree we did this with Granit Xhaka, where Leverkusen didn't want to let him leave. Bloody hell, Erik ten Hag came out and said he's going nowhere. So did the owner. The owner was like, he's not going anywhere. He played in games days before he came to us. So if we're going to compare it to any situation, I'd probably compare it to that. So I just think if the club really wanted him, the club clearly really wanted him, and there's something about this which is keeping us hanging on. I think it was reported, wasn't it, by Fabrizio Romano, that we'd actually already agreed terms with him and everything, so the deal's already there. Well, just a case of agreeing the fee. Yeah,
and to be fair, it is a good point. Well, two good points. One about Ballard's injuries. You are right. Even if this is just a couple of game one, how long is it till the next couple of game injury? And then the one after that, that's going to be a problem. But it is also, I think, really encouraging that it's the club are pursuing this player for so long, clearly just because he is that good. It's not out of desperation. They've, in the meantime, since we've been tracking him, they've signed other players in the same position.
Yeah.
It's clearly that they have identified that he fills a specific need in the squad, that they, or a desire, I should say, in the squad that they really want to strengthen. So that is definitely something really encouraging about the recruitment, because it's great when a deal gets done in like no time flat, but if that's because the club you're buying him from think he's crap, then that's not usually a great sign, is it?
That's it. But we'll see. I'm, to be honest as well, given how the club operate, I've got no doubt that we've got other players who we're just waiting to pull the trigger on bids for, should this not happen. And this kind of segues us on nicely to another player who is Nief Egward from West Ham, who's been linked various times through this window, loosely mind. We haven't had the Fabrizio Romano here we go type tweets, but his name isn't going away. And again, this evening, Santi Auna, who is a journalist for Foot Mercado, has tweeted, exclusive Sunderland maintain Nief Egward very high on the list this summer. The Moroccan centre-back is one to watch before the end of the market. Many European clubs are also interested. Now, I've got to say this isn't one that I'm massively enthused about. David Moyes didn't like him and got rid of him, didn't he? And moved him out on loan last season. He's come back under Graham Potter. Graham Potter's played him since the season started. I mean, he wasn't terrible against us. I just think West Ham were terrible on the opening day. But it's just a strange one. I mean, look, the people who recruit players know better than me about what we need and who's good. And there were players in that West Ham team that'd absolutely break your arm off, who were terrible against us. So sometimes it's the situation, it's the squad, it's the right players but the wrong time, that type of thing. So it doesn't make him a bad player because he plays for West Ham, But again, another name who won't go anywhere. And I guess the question here is, do you think this is an alternative to Lucumi? Or do you think this is an addition? Could we possibly, let's say this is true, let's say there's a grain of truth in this, could we be looking at 2 centre-halves before the window shuts?
I think that would depend on what happens with the top end of the pitch. Because if it is true that, the rumours have been circulating for a couple of weeks now that we're still in the market for one more kind of first team, first 11 signing maybe up front, in terms of like a forward player, whether it's a striker or whether it's a winger, depending on how much money they've got to spend on that. Because I think it's probably just going to be a resource management issue at the end of the window. And now it'll be, we kind of did the main bulk of the spending where it was, we've still got 150 million to kind of tick off as we go. I think now we're probably at the point where it's right. This is what's left of the pool. Prioritise, and if we can make everything we want happen, then brilliant. So if a cut price deal for a Gerd and some sort of agreement with Bologna for Lucumi, and then maybe we take our second choice rather than our first choice in the forward areas, maybe it's something like that, then I could see it. But I think if we are actually planning to go big with one last attacking signing, I think we'd struggle just to make the numbers work. The financials, I mean, the squad numbers, I think we could do with another 2 centre-backs. I wouldn't be complaining if we got them. And it would certainly free up Sealed definitely to go on loan, even with Ballard's injuries at that point, because you've got Ballard plus 4, really. So we could do with him. But I just wonder whether it might be just one bridge too far at the end of this window.
Yeah, I think I could definitely see where we would fit in, and I could definitely see us potentially going out and getting 2. So that's an interesting one. Again, I'm going to ask you about something in a bit, but that could well be the answer to the question I'm going to ask you soon, which I'll hit you over the head with in a minute. You mentioned it very briefly there, forward players. Look, we know that in another world, if things had worked out, Armand Laurienté would have played probably 3 games already this season. He would have signed for Sunderland and he would have featured quite heavily. But what happened. By all accounts, failed a medical. We were set to spend over 20 million euros on this player, and it didn't happen. Now, we've not signed another winger, so we haven't went out and brought anybody in to replace that need for what we and I think it's clear to say we do need another wide player. I mean, you look at the Huddersfield game, and there are question marks over some players. We utilised Wilson Isidore out there, and he did okay. But when we know he can play on the left, but I just kind of worry that this season already we've seen Isidore play there, we've seen Lefebvre play there. We're putting players out of position on the left-hand side of the pitch. I mean, it's went quiet. That's the only thing, isn't it? We haven't heard much about a wide player. But again, I guess a similar question to what I asked you before. Do you think we'll sign one? Because we know the money's there, or it was there. I mean, are we going to do it?
I think we will.
Yeah.
I think it's probably going to be a left winger. Because I think you're right to point out that actually, because I think a lot of fans would probably look at the squad on paper and go, we need a right winger. Because Talby's only 20 and he's raw, and a lot of people are not so hot on Paddy Roberts, so they'd be wanting a right winger. But I think when you actually look at the teams we've put out on the pitch, Lefebvre, both Premier League games, has come on the left, which obviously isn't his actual position. if you have an option like Lafay in your squad, you want to be making the most use of him that you can, which I think for him comes centrally, not out on the left. Isidore the same. I think Isidore's fine as an option for in a game if we just need to go completely direct, or we know we're going to have loads of opportunities to break in the last 10 minutes of a game, 15 minutes, because maybe, like against West Ham, we're 2 goals up, we know we're going to get space in behind. Chuck Isidore out wide is just another pacey runner who's going to capitalise. Fine. If you're ever in a position where Isidore is starting on the left wing in a Premier League game, as much as I love Isidore, something has gone wrong at some point, whether it's injuries or lack of form or whatever. He just shouldn't be starting games out there because it's not his position. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think that is an area of the squad where we need to bring in another body. And like you say, the money is clearly there, or was there, certainly earmarked for that position. So I would be surprised if we don't bring somebody in. Whereas with Lucumi, I can see it going either way. With Aguerd, I'm more on the side of I expect that not to happen. But with the winger signing, I'm very much in the camp. It'll come, but God knows who it'll be. Because you think as well, I mean, we say it plenty on here, but the club's pretty good at keeping a lot of things quiet, really. I know obviously there's been more stuff leaked this summer than in recent years because we're in the Premier League now, but Michele's a good example. I mean, there was maybe 1 or 2 whispers, and then it was bang, Michele's signing, and then the next day he's at the door. So it could happen.
Yeah, I'm expecting something there, like, just because I can't shake this thing that I keep mentioning. Like, we literally had someone bought. We had him there, ready, done, deal done, agreed, flew over, met the players, failed the medical. We haven't replaced that player, and he was a left-sided forward who scored goals. And I guess it comes down to this squad composition thing again. Like, has the opinion of the squad changed since then? And maybe they look at it and go, rather than signing a left-sided player who scores goals, maybe we need one on the right, or maybe we need another striker. We don't know these things, but I'm expecting a wide player to come in, possibly like similar to Michele, a wide player who can play right across the front. So you've got your cover on the right and the left there. That's a possibility, because obviously Romain Mundle at some point will come back. Hopefully will stay fit, and a fit Romain Mundle is a Premier League player in my opinion. But it's going to be difficult to rely on him to stay fit, a bit like Ballard. And I just almost think, given the type of, I think Adingra's a quality player, but given the type of player he is, he's going to go through spells where he isn't playing very well, and that's going to mean you need options. And then what's your option after that?
Yeah,
it's moving Talby over there. It's playing Enzo Lafay. It's Isidore
or Roberts on that side, which he hasn't got the game for, as he's a cut inside man. And on the Adingra point as well, it's very true of him, especially I think out of all the attackers that we've got, he is your proper, like, he is as close to an old-fashioned quintessential winger as you will find in the modern game. He just plays on the other side. Like, he's very take people on, beat them, put balls in the box, like, try and make stuff happen. So when he goes off the boil, which he will at some point, he's gonna go really off the boil. And, those sorts of players that can go through a run of games where not just the good things don't come off, but nothing comes off.
Yeah.
Because it's just the nature of that type of role. So he is going to need, I mean, obviously African Cup of Nations anyway, but he's going to need a period of at least a couple of games out the team. And yeah, behind him, there's just not much, is there?
No. And I mentioned it there, strikers. I mean, could you see another striker coming in? I mean, all 3 of the strikers have scored already this season, which is good. And I'm saying all 3 because they're the 3 I expect to be the ones that we go forward with. It kind of bleeds into the last point, really. It depends if we think a winger who scores goals is more important. Because I don't think Regis Lebris looks at the squad and goes, all right, they're 3 strikers, they're 3 left wing. He almost looks at these players as very flexible tactically. Like, they're all, rather than wingers and strikers, they're forwards. And he can play 2 of them at the same time. He can play 1 up front with 2 out wide, but the 2 wide players are expected to contribute. I think it depends how they actually look at the squad. I'd be shocked, if I'm honest. I would be shocked if we bring a striker in. Although, again, when I say I can't just shake that feeling, I can't shake that feeling because I'd heard rumblings about strikers we were looking at a couple of weeks ago. So we were looking at strikers. Whether that's changed, I don't know. But I had been told we were looking at strikers, and I don't know. I just can't shake that feeling that, again, that need, if it was there a couple of weeks ago, what's really changed? I mean, yeah, the strikers have been scoring. That could potentially change things. But I just think if you got this recruitment committee together, Kira Louis-Dreyfus, Christian Speakman, Florian Gasolfi, Reggie Slabris, and whoever else is involved on that side of things, Stuart Harvey, if you got them together and said, to be completely happy with this squad coming out of August, what would you want? I think they would say 2 centre-halves, another striker and another winger. So we're talking about 4 players there.
And you would arguably say another fullback.
Possibly, yeah. Because
if you're talking dreamland, like money's no object, they'd probably say that, wouldn't they?
Yeah, maybe another right back instead of Huggins, possibly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not sure on strikers. We'll wait and see. I was kind of expecting us to at least sign one experienced there's no experience in that front line. If we're talking about them as forwards, you could say Pat Roberts, but he's played hardly any football in the Premier League in his career, so I'm not going to call that like tangible experience for what we need this season. I was kind of expecting us to go out and get a striker who's different to what we've got. So we've got 3. Isidore's still young. 3 young lads, 3 unproven strikers. I was expecting us to maybe go out and just get like an old head who might just come off the bench when you need him for 20 minutes a game. I know a lot of people, the first name that would pop into their head would be somebody like Jamie Vardy. But along those lines, Danny Welbeck, potentially.
Or even Calvert-Lewin was linked, wasn't he, before he went to Leeds?
Correct. Yeah. So somebody like that, though, I think is still a real possibility. But what you've got to remember with that is you don't have to sign them before Monday.
Yeah, that's
they're a free agent.
Extended window for that.
So I guess there's that line of thinking too. Maybe we're looking at it and going, if push came to shove, we're pretty comfortable with the strikers. But after deadline day, if this player's still available and we've got the funds in the wage bill to maybe go to him and say, we can actually pay you a decent salary, come in, teach these young lads what to do, you'll get games here and there. Maybe the need will change beyond Monday for that sort of position. Almost a luxury, isn't it? Like if we could, we could add somebody like that who's a free agent who we're not expect to come straight in. Bear in mind, we've got an international break coming up. They would have a couple of weeks to get up to speed and then maybe contribute after the international break. I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, there's not just one international break, is there? I think there's 3 between like now and November or something.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of opportunities for those, the classic cliche of, oh, well, now we get to spend an extra week on the training pitch with the lads and get the ideas across and all the rest of it. Because I think nearly everything you've said there makes perfect sense. The only spanner in the works, I think, is do Chelsea loan us Gue if we're going to have 4 strikers playing for one position? That's and I mean, maybe it goes back a little bit to your point about them not being like, you're a striker, you're a left winger, you're forwards. So there's that level of kind of interchangeability in positions. So, I mean, we saw it last season, didn't we? At times we saw Mundle playing out wide. We've seen Isidore playing out wide already at times this season. So it's entirely possible if we bring in another striker that really it's Newman and Gue are the 2 who can only play through the middle, and Isidore and Mayenda can do whatever. But yeah, I think with Gue coming in, you'd have to think that with it not even having an option to buy, Chelsea have just loaned him to us. They obviously rate him, so they're not going to send him to us if we're saying, oh yeah, he might get 5 or 10, starts through the whole course of the season. So I mean, God knows what those expected numbers of games or whatever actually are. Or whether it's even, as strict as it being in a contract, or it's just a sort of gentleman's agreement, you're signing him, you better play him. But yeah, I just think that's the only thing for me that makes us think, would we do that if we wanted another, proper name in? But then, like you say, that free agent shout would still make a lot of sense, even with that considered. Because if you bring in, let's say, just Vardy out of off the top of the head, somebody who's 38 probably is fine with 5 or 10 games a season, and a decent pay packet and getting, being involved and stuff. So, I think long-winded way of saying I basically agree with you that if we bring somebody in, it probably would be maybe after this window. But I don't think it's out of the question, because there's clearly there's a niche we could fill in the form of an experienced forward, which we don't already have.
Just to throw this one at you on the spot, then, wildcard. Who could we potentially bring, or what kind of? Sorry, not who, but what position on the pitch maybe would be filled by the end of the window that we weren't expecting. We went through pretty much every position on the pitch there, but it's 8:00 on Monday. The deadline's passed. Sunderland, 1 hour after the deadline shuts, announces this player, and everyone's like, "What?" But like Chris Mepham last year, where it just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, immediately you say wildcard, I just want to say his name from Man United, but I'll not this time.
Go on, just do it. Yeah, let's have Ahmad. Yeah, well, Ahmad can be the wild card.
Yeah, Ahmad, I want him to be my wild card. But in the real world, while I'm awake and not dreaming, I think my actual wild card probably would be a fullback, where none of us expect another one to come in. We all think we've probably done our business there. But I do think if the right deal came up, maybe a loan, because we don't forget as well, we haven't used many loan slots. No. So we still have room in that regard. I think fullback for me would be the one where you could easy, Monday night, you've been out or whatever, you come back, you check your phone, you go, oh, bloody hell, we've got a scarf pick of a fullback. So there's my little slight rogue shout.
Yeah.
And come back, Ahmad.
I'm half expecting us to just sign a young player who we're not expecting. Last year we kind of like Ahmed Abdullahi happened. I know we really needed a striker, and I think we shopped about a bit, and he came in, and we've not really mentioned him on this, to be honest, and we probably will in a minute. But he came in on deadline day. Milan Alexic came in on deadline day. We kind of had that like flurry on deadline day, but there was a handful of younger players, and we haven't done that yet this window. We haven't just went like, you know what I mean, like a couple of like players who cost maybe 2 or 3 million who they're not going to be ready for the first team, but we see potential in them. Because that's what virtually every other Premier League team do. They go out and pick these sort of younger players up from the continent. If I was going to be realistic with a wild card, I think we might do that. I think we might see 1 or 2 just youngsters in that sort of Alexic, Abdullahi mode who aren't going to be ready for the first team straight away coming in.
Yeah, or like even Trey Hume when he came in, where that was sort of like we've signed this random Northern Irish kid from, the Northern Irish League, and we've already, I know I'm really
Northern Irish kid from Northern Ireland.
Come here for your cutting edge analysis, guys. But yeah, like that kind of signing where it's just a bit of all right, yeah, we've signed him, and then a couple of years down the line, you never know, they might be winning Player of the Season. But I mean, there have been rumblings of players that we've been linked with from other Northern Irish clubs in the wake of the Trey Hume, obviously, move. And it's a bit of a lazy link.
We've signed a few, haven't we? We've signed a few as well.
Signed a couple this summer. And it's an easy link to make, but, that level of player coming in, not ready to make the actual step up just yet, but coming in to bed in, I could definitely see that.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to outgoings. I mean, we've spent 30 odd minutes talking about like 2 positions, so a good luck fitting this in under an hour, but we'll try. I mean, off the top, I think the most obvious place to start would be Jensen Seelt. He's been linked with a move back to NAC Nijmegen, as we mentioned before. He's also been linked to Verona, hasn't he, in Serie A? All loans that he's been linked with moves away. Jensen Seelt, I think that one's going to go right down to the wire. I suspect the club are really keen to loan him out because he's fit. He probably needs to play 35, 40 games this season to stand a chance of progressing here. I mean, the ideal scenario would be he goes to, let's say, Nijmegen, somewhere where he's quite comfortable, has a brilliant season, stays injury-free. Next summer, we flog him on and we make a bit of money. You know what I mean? That would be the best case. And I just don't see a long-term playing future here. But when I talk about when we go out and sign these young players and bring them into the squad, part of that is literally just you buy them, you loan them out, they develop, they gain a reputation on the continent, and you make a bit of money next summer, and it all helps top the pot up. I'll get my words out. Top the pot up. There we go. Got there in the end. Easy for me to say. But Jensen Seelt, I'm fairly certain he'll go. Actually, I think we're going to get my bold prediction here, very bold, Gav, Jesus, is that we get our defensive reinforcements which allow him to go. I don't think he'll be short of offers. I think the fact he's actually played already this season a few times will help him. I think that's going to reassure clubs that he's all right. I know he got that knock in the West Ham game, but it was nothing serious. He was fit to play the next game. I mean, he virtually played 2 full games already, and then got a 20-odd minute cameo off the bench in the cup, and then absolutely raked the penalty home, which,
beautiful pen.
Yeah. The lads on the reaction pod were happy with that one. So yeah, I don't know if you disagree or not. I know we've said it's touch and go, that one. I mean, gut feeling is by sort of close of play on Monday, he'll be gone.
I'm with you there. To trot out another couple of classics, he is the quintessential waiting for the dominoes to fall transfer.
Yeah.
Where, like you say, he's clearly got suitors. There's probably something lined up if the reports about the Nijmegen stuff are to be believed. And it's just a case of us getting the body in the door before we let the body go out the door. Whereas I'm sure some of the players that we'll talk about maybe not in that camp, where it's, it may be more of a struggle to drum up the interest in the first place. Sealt's just, we need to bring somebody else in before he can go, because he's playing games. And if you're playing games, you obviously need it in some degree.
Yeah, my suspicion is that we're prepared to let him go, but after Brentford. So, he's probably going to be needed at the weekend. But once that game's out of the way, we're going to let him go. We've got 4 goalkeepers. Now, I don't know whether that's normal or not in the Premier League to have a 4th choice first team goalkeeper, but there were some very loose rumours a couple of weeks ago about Blondie maybe going back to Belgium. Will he go, do you think? I mean, I'm not asked if he does or not, to be honest, but I just think at his age, if a club comes along and says, we want you to be first choice, whether it's second tier in Belgium or what, I think you would probably want to go, wouldn't he? And I can't imagine he's on a lot of money. We've got some good young keepers in the under-21s. I wouldn't be bothered at all if he went. I mean, just I know we'll not spend too much time on Blondie, but right, he might go.
Yeah, I think if there's anything resembling a decent offer, he probably goes. The only thing that would keep him here is maybe, from a personal point of view for him, if he thinks, actually, I'm on a canny enough contract here, I don't care about not playing. I'm at the Premier League club. I'm training with some of the best footballers. Well, I was going to say some of the best footballers in the world. I might be stretching it.
Hey, Granit Xhaka, 16th in the Ballon d'Or.
Yeah, one of the best players in the world. And some of the future best players in the world. But, he might think, actually, I'd rather stick around here for another season and then move on, after 12 months of this. But, I think he's not going to play, is he?
No. Let's blast through some of these other names. Zach Johnson, he's had a couple of loans away, hasn't he, over the last couple of years? I think, is he 21 now?
He's just too old, isn't he? Which is ridiculous to say about a 21-year-old, but Sunderland of 2025, if you're 21 and you've not got at least...
He's 20. He's 20. He turned 20 in...
20.
Oh, no, I'm talking rubbish. Talking absolute rubbish. Wikipedia's wrong. The preview says he's 20, but when you click into his page, he's actually 21. So, yeah, he's 21. He's had loans at Hartlepool, Dundalk, Notts County last season, and done well everywhere. I think he might actually be injured at the minute, but I don't know how serious that is. I think he'll go. If I was the club, I would probably let him go, properly go,
he'll get a contract, won't he? Because, like you say, he's had some canny enough loan spells, so he will get a contract in the Football League if he wants one. But it's just, if you're 21 at Sunderland these days and you've not already got 100, 150 games for the club under your belt, you're not making it. No. It's just the name of the game. If you're young enough, you're good enough, is what it seems to be now. So yeah, he'll move on.
Yeah. I would have said Niall Huggins would be allowed to leave, but he's injured again.
And the day ends with why, and the sun rises in the west and sets in the east.
I know.
I feel really.
I do too. I feel for him because I want him to. I just want Niall Huggins to go and spread his wings and play football.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in another life, he's our current right back. No, before he got that knee injury,
or even our current left back, he was playing class out position as well for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah. So, but I can't see anybody. I can't see anyone coming in and going, "We'll take him." He's not. Why would you? You sign the player who's going to be injured at some point soon, and is currently injured. So I think we're probably going to be, and I don't think it's a bad. He's an added bonus really if he's fit and he's available. Then he's not going to be kicking up a fuss and knocking on the manager's door and demanding he plays, is he?
He's not on 50, and he's not on 50 grand a week, is he? Like sucking money out the club and never playing. At which point you have to be a bit like, how much can we afford to keep this up? But I just feel sorry for him. What really hammered it home was when I was watching the first half. I think it was the first half last night, and one of the commentators said, Niall Huggins there. It's something like his first competitive start for Sunderland since December 2023. I think that's what it was. First competitive start, maybe, but it was something like that anyway. And that's what made us really kind of think, like, bloody hell, it was because it was that Coventry game, wasn't it? The 3-0.
Yeah.
Home under either Beale's first game or the first game before he came in.
I think it was Beale's first,
yeah. First game, and it all got a bit ugly, and Huggins had that bad injury. And just thinking, because I was at that game, and just thinking about that game, thinking, like, how long ago that feels to me.
Yeah.
Jesus, how long that must feel to him. It's just so sad.
And then he lasts till half-time because he's injured again.
Yeah.
You must just be thinking, fucking hell, just put us down.
Aye.
I feel so sorry for him.
Turn us into glue.
And another man made of sticks, Adji Elise.
He was the name that was just on my lips as well. I was going to say him and Huggins must be the pair of them. Like, must meet up in the physio room at the Academy of Light every morning and just be like, how is it still going on, mate? Like, what is happening?
Yeah. There were rumours that he was expecting to leave. I'd heard he was wanting to move back down south, closer to his family, closer to his mum. So, I mean, I hope for Adji's sake, again, I think him and Huggins are pretty much in the same category here. I really hope for their sake they can get a move away, alone somewhere, even just get yourselves away. Once you're back fit, get some games, rebuild your career. Adji Elise is so talented. I mean, if he was, again, another one, if he was fit at the minute, he'd probably be starting on Saturday. He's a good player. He's a really talented player.
There's an alternate universe where Elise never gets injured last season. We never signed Chris Mepham, because he was playing so well in that position. I mean, I don't think we conceded a goal, did we? With him and O'Nien starting the centre-backs at the start of the season.
Yeah, he was really good, yeah.
Yeah, and he obviously picked up the injury, and then what happened. But there's a world where either Mepham never signs for us, and last season's completely different, or Dan Ballard never ends up getting into the team because he's got O'Nien, Elise, and Mepham all ahead of him. It's mad when you think how different everything could be if he never got injured at the start of last season, because he was that important, wasn't he, to the defence?
Yeah. So I'm hoping he gets a move away. Another player I'm hoping gets a move away because he's done no wrong really, but he's just a mile down the pecking order is Alan Brown. I think there's probably a part of him thinking, I just want to stay here and get on the pitch once in the Premier League just to say I've played in the Premier League. Because at his age, he's not going to get that chance again. There's not a chance. And like I say, he's done nothing wrong. For me, though, he's good enough and you'll be ready to go and, what someone in our group chat mentioned, he would probably be a good fit for someone like Millwall. And I agree with that. A mid-table, quite workman-like championship team. I could see him do, he's done nothing wrong at Sunderland. I've got nothing against Alan Brown. He just isn't Granit Xhaka, Noah Siddiqui, or Habib Diarra, or Enzo Lefebvre. He's he was signed really to. I actually thought when we signed him, I thought, oh God, he's a great signing for us. He's
Mm-hmm.
He's been Preston's best player for years. He's dependable. He's a leader. And then he just had too many. Talk about injuries again, but it's just another player who's been affected by injuries. But then he's actually just through no fault of his own fell right down the pecking order because so many good players have came in. And another one where I think he could do well going away. What's your gut feeling on him? Because like I say, I reckon selfishly he'll probably be thinking, I'll just stay here till January. I might only get 1 or 2 appearances, but I would love to play in the Premier League. Then, in January, sod off somewhere and get a loan for the second half of the season.
Yeah, well, his CV is too good to not have had offers by now. So if he wanted to go, I think he'd have gone.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something there that certainly January seems like it would make sense for everybody. It gives him that half a season to, well, you never know. Maybe 4 people will all break their legs and I'll be starting every week for Sunderland in the Premier League. Not that I'm saying I think he hopes his teammates break their legs, but
yeah.
You know what I mean. But yeah, and like I say, he is so obviously a no-brainer for 90% of the Championship. Anyone outside of that going for the automatics lot, any of them could use him. Even some of them could use him in the squad.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking even the likes of like Borough, somebody like that, he would fit right in terms of what he brings footballing wise. So for him not to have already gone, that says to me that he is not that desperate to leave. And fair play to him, like you say, he's grafted his whole career hoping for a chance in the Premier League and probably would feel a bit too much like giving it up early doors if you finally get there and then you shift in the first transfer window. But again, a bit like I was saying with Isidore playing on the left before, not because I don't like Brown, but if he starts a game for us this season in the league, something has gone wrong. And those are the kind of players in the positions that you just think, whatever we do in the market, we need to be avoiding that.
Yeah. Let's rattle through some of these other names. And Milan Aleksic was linked with a move back to Serbia, wasn't he, earlier in the window? Came off the bench on Tuesday, set the goal up, did okay, actually. Did all right, but I don't think he's going to get many games this season. And at his age, he needs to play, doesn't he? So I'm hoping he gets a loan away. Reckon he'll go?
I think so. Maybe just another one where they wanted to loan him out earlier, but it just hanging back a little bit until we get everything sorted from our incoming side.
Yeah, likewise, Harrison Jones, I think he'll go somewhere. We had that he's played all of pre-season and then into the season as a left-back, mind. But I think he'll get a loan. I can see him maybe going to League 2, bottom end League 1, maybe. I think there's teams who will take him. There's plenty of teams who would look at that and go, the under-21s captain at Sunderland, and Sunderland got a great academy, is available for loan. I can see him getting a move away. I don't see him hanging about. I can't see him staying here, if I'm honest.
No, I think staying here would be the wrong move for his career. The only thing, again, that gives us a little bit of pause with Jones is he's 20. I feel like if he goes on loan, he needs to be going to top-end League 1, if not bottom-end Championship at that age, to have a realistic chance of progressing.
Can't say it. Maybe top-end League 1. Maybe a League 1 team who don't have much money, but they're still quite good. I'm trying
like an outside playoff chaser, somebody in that kind of bracket.
Maybe Reading, somebody like that.
Yeah,
Reading, who haven't got much money, but they've got still got quite a decent team, and could maybe use some reinforcement. I could see him. It's difficult because he's not like. I don't look at Harrison Jones and go, he's outstanding. He's like, no. I think if you're a League 1 team loaning from the Prem, I think the lack of experience has to be made up by something else. And I think with him, it would be goals or assists, or he would have to be like a 6'3" brick shithouse. And you're
looking for a point of difference, aren't you? You need something that the other loanees you could pick from don't have. And I struggle to see that with him. He needs a season somewhere to basically find himself as a player, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He needs to work out what he wants to be and then try and, go down that route, but he just doesn't have it yet.
Yeah, maybe like a club which isn't too far away, like a Doncaster, Harrogate. Somebody, I can see plenty of teams being interested. Maybe Scotland, Scottish Premiership.
Scotland's not a bad shout, actually.
Yeah, because we've sent players there before.
We've clearly been willing to do business with Hibs, so let's just get him up there. That's the latest pathway, the Sunderland to Hibs back to Sunderland pathway.
Yeah. Yeah, Ahmed Abdullahi, I think he'll go, yeah. I think he'll go out and loan. Stayed fit right through pre-season, bar a couple of weeks where he had a little niggle there, but he looks good, looks ready to play games. Prior to signing for us, had no first-team experience, really. It was Genk, wasn't it? Or was it Ghent? It was one of the two Belgian teams, which sound very similar. But he played a lot of B-team football and scored a lot of goals. I think in pre-season, he's looked really busy. I think there'll be teams who, when I talk about physical profile, you look at him and there will be teams who look at him and go, Sunderland paid $2 million for him. He's a big boy. He's quick, lightning quick. We wouldn't mind having him for half a season or a full season. So I think has he not talked about Reading before? He's been linked with Reading. I'm sure he has. See, I think he'll go though. I definitely think he'll go. There's no point in keeping him around. He should be out on loan somewhere playing games, especially after the injury he had, which we signed him with. I think he needs to be playing football.
Yeah, and it's telling that we had that conversation before about do we sign another striker or not? And both of us went, well, all three strikers we've got. So Abdullahi just didn't even factor into it, did he? He needs to go to play football. Yeah. But unlike Harrison Jones, I think he does have that point of difference, like you said. The physicality and the pace makes him an attractive option for clubs. So I would be shocked if he doesn't have some really decent suitors looking for him on loan between now and Monday evening.
Yeah, likewise, Jhon Lucumi signed a new contract last week. Has been linked with Scottish Premiership teams, League One, League Two teams, Belgium teams apparently are interested in him. I think he's the most attractive young player we've got. Like if we were in League One now, and there was a Premier League team with a kid like that available for loan, I would be desperate for him to come to Sunderland. In another world, he's playing league football for us this season.
Well, if we were in League One, he's probably starting every week, isn't he?
Yeah, League One, or even if we had another stinking championship season, he would have probably been in contention, yeah.
It really flashes me back to when we had Joe Lasoro and Josh Madja coming through about the same time. Mm-hmm. We got relegated to the Championship. Both of them were getting games. We go down to League One. Madja starts every week and he's banging in goals because he's getting the football. I think Trey just needs to find that club for him. Where he's
too good for under-21 football, isn't he? He's already shown that.
Yeah. And the fact that he was involved in the first team, even briefly last season in the Cup, that shows that the club clearly are trying to show him a pathway. So they obviously believe in him, at least to some degree. So another one that I would be utterly shocked if there aren't decent clubs inquiring about him, because the striker market as well is not the most plentiful and easy to navigate for clubs. So anyone that's, needing an option, they'll be looking at him without a doubt.
Yeah, and obviously I mentioned the contract that he signed. Yeah, was it last week or the week before? I can't remember now. But as part of those negotiations of the deal he signed, I would imagine, well, first and foremost, you don't offer a new contract to a young player like that. One, if they haven't done very well for you, and two, if other teams aren't sniffing about. So I guarantee that would have been a factor. And when other teams are sniffing about, suddenly they've got to make an attractive offer. So we've got to say, actually, this is how we see you progressing. And as part of that would have been, we see you going out on loan. So I think he's one of them ones where you talked before about archetypal dominoes waiting to fall type of deal. That's another one. I think there's probably a queue of teams waiting to get a chance at him, and he'll go on deadline day or the day before maybe. I can't see him being. There's absolutely no point in keeping Jhon Lucumi at the club. He's so ready for first team football somewhere, and I'm desperate to see what he's going to do somewhere as well. I think he's just, of the current crop of young players outside of the first team, he's by far the most exciting. There's something about that kid. He's, if he has a good season, if he goes away and scores goals, we're going to be talking about him next season and going, we need him in our first team. And that might be, hopefully that's at a high level. I think, top end League One or going abroad or even just going to the Scottish Premiership and having a proper breakout season would be massive for his future prospects. So, fingers crossed he moves on over the next couple of days. I think he will. Last one in terms of this group anyways, Jenson Jones maybe? No, he's played quite a bit in pre-season, so he's been around the first team. Came on second half, didn't he? Was it? It was Jensen who came on, wasn't it? We've got too many Joneses for me.
I thought it was Jensen, but now you've got us doubting myself.
The kid who came on right back at half time in the Cup. That's the one I'm talking about. So if I fucked that up, then I'm sorry.
Yes,
But
yes, that was Jensen. Yes,
right. Phew. Well, yeah, Jensen Jones. So yeah,
never in doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been linked with teams. I'm pretty sure he has. I could see him maybe going to Scotland or Ireland. Like we've sent Thomas Lavery over to Ireland. Could maybe see something similar there with him. Again, another one. If the club view him like with Harrison Jones, like with Treoghan Sui, like with Ahmed Abdullahi and Milan Alexic, if these young players are being viewed as part of the first team group but are nowhere near playing or being ready to play, I think they're going to be loaned out. I think he's another one, probably less of a shoe-in than your Treoghan Sui's and Harrison Jones's, but still, I think if there's even a lower league, even a national league team or an Irish club or something, get him out playing games, get him back in January and see how he did. I think that's probably the best way forward with him.
100%. The only reason why I think that could potentially not happen is if a decent offer doesn't come in, obviously, then he's got nowhere to go. But more than the others, he's slightly more got the age on his side. He's only just turned 19 this summer, so he's still got plenty of development to do. Probably still got a bit of physical growth and filling out to do as well. So I could see a world where the club think, actually, another year with us, where we can keep a close eye on him and kind of control everything, and then look at him, maybe even go in January for half a season rather than go now and come back. But either way, I think he's going to be earmarked to be playing first team football somewhere within the next 12 months or so.
Yeah. Now on to the bomb squad. Hemia was the first of that lot to make a move over the last couple of days. I don't know how he's managed it, but he's went to Moriense, I think they're called. I looked that up and they've won 3 from 3, the third in the Portuguese top flight, just behind Sporting and Porto. It doesn't mean they're going to keep it up, by the way. But they've had a good start of the season and Hemia has gone there on a season-long loan. Great move for him. It shows that anything's possible with this group.
I want his agent.
Yeah, Sunderland, Benfica, Sunderland, Juventus, and now the team currently third in Portugal. Again, it comes down to maybe comes to this physical profile thing I keep talking about. They look at him and go, he's massive. Surely he can't be useless. But he can. Onto the bomb squad. We'll start from the top. I say the top. Jan Poveda. I'm starting with him because out of all this lot, he's the one that they've been keeping ticking over. He's been playing games in the 21s. He's been playing well for the 21s. I saw when they played Scunthorpe's first team the other week, the Scunthorpe fans on Twitter going, that Sunderland number 7's brilliant, we should sign him. And then someone posted, that's Colombian international Jan Poveda. I don't think so, mate. He's got a massive contract. He's on big money. We don't want him. There's reasons why we don't want him. There's reasons why he, out of that group, is the only one playing games. It's because I think the club they know they need to get rid of this lad. Do you think anyone's going to take the gamble? Because I think, fair play to him, he looks in decent nick. He actually does. He looks like he's lost weight. He's playing for the under-21s and seemingly playing well. He's doing everything he can to get that move away. So fair play to him. He's obviously not been the right fit for us, but this is a lad who was doing all right in the Championship, not last season, but the season before. There's a player there, and somebody might look at that and go, he's worth a gamble. But it's the other stuff, isn't it? It's the fitness record. It's the potential issues off the pitch with, his attitude and things. Maybe, there will be people looking at that. But I really hope we get him off the books because it's not a massive game changer for us either way if he stays or goes. I just think, and we'll get on it with a few more of these players, but I just think it's time to go.
Yeah, he needs to go because he's one of those players in the horrible situation where, even if he's still at the club and we end up in a position where we're scrabbling for bodies, you're still not going to be under consideration, or you'd be like the absolute last resort behind, a 17-year-old kid or whatever.
Yeah.
Which no one wants to be in that position. It's not good for the club. It's not good for him. I think he needs to go.
Yeah. Timothy Pelbelli, do you think he'll go?
Another one I'm surprised hasn't already gone, actually, because as much as it's worked here, his CV's pretty good. And he was playing football last season as well. It's not like a Poveda where he spent all of last season not on a pitch. he actually was playing, so I'm surprised he's not gone already. I think.
Do you know him? I can see like a really weird, obscure move to a random European country.
Turns up in like
Cyprus or something. Yeah.
Cyprus or like the Liechtensteinian top flight or something like that. Like, maybe the reason he's not gone yet is because the club are really trying to engineer a permanent deal rather than a loan, and trying to find something that suits everyone. Maybe he'll go on loan if nothing materialises between now and Monday. But yeah, he's not going to be here, is he?
No. Joe Anderson will never leave Sunderland. He's destined to be here forever. I just feel like he's never going to go. If I was him, I'd just be like saying, rip my contract up, but he was signed as Everton's under-21s captain, so I reckon whilst he won't be on mega money, I reckon he's probably still on decent pay, but that might be putting like the calibre of teams off that he's probably in the eyesight of, like maybe a League Two team. So that would probably, if that's going to happen, that's going to be a loan, isn't it? And likewise, Abdullah Bar, a bit like Pembele, I could see him maybe rocking up in some obscure league, but again, just we've heard nothing like regarding rumours for these players, even have we? There's not even been a sniff but there wasn't with him, and then that one came out of nowhere, so that doesn't mean teams aren't interested. I think the fact, talk about CVs, he was actually a regular in the Championship 2 seasons ago. So, he was starting most weeks for us. He was getting plenty of games. He's probably young enough to still get a move somewhere. And then the last one on the list here, Jhon Lucumi. Again.
I can't believe he's still under contract. It feels like 100 years ago we signed him. How is he still here? But he'll definitely get a move, won't he? Because he's had loads of good seasons in the football league.
I think the injuries are his problem, though. I think he's. I don't think it's the talent. He's he went to Plymouth. Was it Oxford
and Bolton? I think. Yeah.
So if you're a League One team looking for a defensive midfield player, yeah, I could see it, and I think he's happy. He'd probably just be happy to go anywhere in League One. Really, I think it's the injuries with him. I think teams again might look at that and go, "Is he worth a gamble?"
Possibly like you say, a wage situation where it's all right for like West Ham signing Callum Wilson on a $2,000 a week deal, but you get $90,000 a week if you actually play. I don't think too many League One clubs are going to be offering that for Jhon Lucumi, but I could be wrong. But I don't see it.
So I named 16 players there on the outgoings. I'll just rattle through them very quickly. Jensen Seelt, Blondie Nanuku, Zach Johnson, Niall Huggins, Adji Elise, Alan Brown, Milan Alexic, Harrison Jones, Ahmed Abdullahi, Trey Ogunsui, Jensen Jones, Timothy Pembele, Joe Anderson, Abdullah Bar, Jhon Lucumi, Jan Poveda. They're not all going to leave, but the majority of them will. I'm pretty sure they will. 16 potential outgoings. That's a lot, isn't it?
What's nice is being in the position where at least half of those, I think, that we went through, we were saying, they should get a loan. We want to see them play football. They can come back. We can reassess. If we were in a position where we're talking about 14, 15, 16 players that we need to sell because they're completely finished here and they've got no future and they're just a drain on the club, that's worrying. That's the kind of position we were getting in towards the latter end of the last Prem spell. This position we're in, at least, we're looking at, like I say, a good half of these and thinking, well, it might not work out, but we still want to see you again and give you a chance to play. So that, I think, shows that, as a club, we're still, on the right track rather than being in the Chelsea situation.
I think it's less than you think, I'm looking here, Seelt. Even that, to be fair, I said I would probably sell him if he has a good season somewhere, but still, Seelt, Milan Alexic, Harrison Jones, Ahmed Abdullahi, Trey Ogunsui, Jensen Jones. Other than that, you're looking at Blondie. He can go for me. Zach Johnson, not bothered. Niall Huggins, not bothered. Adji Elise, I'm not bothered. Time to go. Alan Brown, time to go eventually. Pembele, Anderson, Bar, Matete, that's 10 players.
Yeah, actually,
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Though,
let me rephrase slightly. They're either players we want to loan out, or we only want to let them go because they're too injury prone, but they were actually good players. it shows that we're signing people who are of the level.
Sorry to cut in. We've totally forgot about Naz Rusyn. Haven't mentioned him.
I mentioned his name earlier, then you didn't have him on the list here, and I thought, have I fucked up and he's gone already?
Sorry, was he 17 potential outgoings, 17. Well, let's talk about him.
You've just re-tipped me scales the wrong way here, though. Now my whole point's blown out the water because of this bloody Rusyn.
Naz Rusyn, definitely on big money, because can you remember that chase to get him?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, I say big money in relative terms. Big, probably for big championship wages. I bet he's on decent money. And I half suspect that's why he's not gone anywhere, and then why he spends his days pushing the pram around the bridges and not playing games of football.
It's mental, by the way, that is actually true. That's what he's doing. Just wandering around the bridges, like brilliant. But he's like. I don't mean this as harsh as it sounds, but he's as close to a Jack Rodwell as we've seen since we last were in this league. Ooh. And I don't mean that he's got the same attitude problems or anything like that, but you know how Rodwell just became like an albatross around the neck of, well, he's here and he cost us money and he's on an all right wage, but he's just never going to play. And like I say again, Rusyn, very different personal circumstances, but in terms of the effect on the club, similar, isn't it? It's just like, he's here, we paid money for him, he's earning an okay wage, but he's never going to get on the pitch. No. We just need a big issue he's got is that when he did go out on loan last season, he done absolutely nothing. When he went to Hajduk Split. Didn't score a goal, came back. Yeah. Oh, God. Well, I've depressed myself adding him to the list. I thought... Plus, it's made me list, and we're now in odd numbers. And as somebody who's extremely anal over these things, I prefer even numbers. 16 would have been nice, but we've got 17 on the outgoings list. I mean, I'd be amazed if we let go of 17 players, but I'm almost half expecting it. It's when the flurry starts, Yeah, it feels like it's going to be a flurry, doesn't it? It feels like one day we're all going to have our Twitter notifications for the club, and it's going to be bang, 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 bang. 5 of them are gone.
Yeah.
That kind of day, it feels like that's around the corner.
Yeah, possibly after the weekend, just when the club can kind of focus, I said this earlier in the window that a lot of the attention and focus has been on incomings, and that's where it should be. And until we're happy with the incomings, then naturally things like letting players go is going to become less of a priority. So, but when we're talking about sort of the balancing the squad out and making sure it's in shape for the season ahead and stuff, to have potentially 17 outgoing players, that's not good. That's 17 players we've got hanging around the training ground, potentially waiting to move. It
definitely needs sorting, doesn't it? Because as much as financially it's not the huge issue it would be if these were all 17 players on Premier League money, then it would be a catastrophe. Obviously, at the minute, it's a lot of low sums of money, so you can be all right in that regard. You are right in pointing out that it's still a lot of bodies hanging around, being in the Academy of Light every day, and just having those people around, even if they're not doing anything particularly disruptive, it's not great for the squad harmony, is it? Just having players around that everyone looks at and thinks, you don't want to be here. And a lot of them probably thinking, we don't want you here either. So, need to get it sorted. But I'm sure they will. I'm confident that we will see a lot of these players have moved on between now and the end of Monday.
Yeah, well, we'll see, mate. I mean, as we record this, it's now nearly 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. It's late. So should we wake up in the morning, this pod goes out and we've let 3 of these players go, then just count on us to, hopefully we're right as well. Hopefully we've called some of these right and we're like, actually, people will listen to this retrospectively and they'll be like, bloody hell, them lads had their finger on the pulse. Yeah, it's going to be a busy couple of days. We've got obviously the game at the weekend against Brentford, which is the priority. I mean, it's nice to sit and talk about transfers. I quite like doing this, going through lists of players and working out what's going to go on and all the rest of it. The priority is Brentford, and of course we'll be previewing the Brentford game. We've got a couple of pods which will be looking ahead to that, and then on match day, after the game, there'll be a pubcast potentially. So we'll have that after the match, and then the usual Sunday supplement. This week we will be joined by Kieran Brady, former Sunderland winger, occasional BBC Newcastle pundit. He will be with us. Always nice to hear from Kieran. Monday, there will be an On This Week with special guest club historian Rob Mason joining the crew for this one, which is always fun when Rob's about. And then going into next week as we have our deadline day pod. And I think on Tuesday, that'll be a pod with Scott Wilson from the Northern Echo. So loads coming up. I mean, I've just heard loads of different things and permutations and names at you. Loads and loads of things up on how the podcast feeds over the couple of days preceding this. So thank you very much. We've got loads coming up on roatreport.svnation.com. All your usual build up to the Brentford game on matchday and before, and then reaction afterwards. Just leaves me to say thank you very much, Johnny. It's been an epic. I was hoping for an hour. We've done it an hour and 10. I don't think it's too bad, considering we've rattled through about 20 players there. I think
and you had an extra one that we both forgot about until the end. So
there's probably somebody else. We'll get a raft of messages tomorrow saying, "Yeah, how did you forget about him?" There'll be. When I asked you for a wild card, I should ask for a wild card outgoing. Go on then before we leave.
Wild card outgoing. Ooh.
Somebody who you might not necessarily expect to go.
Chris Rigg on loan.
Ooh, yeah,
that would be a real wild card, wouldn't it? But I could see some logic because I don't see him getting that many minutes this season. There is a part of us thinks Rigg with a full season being first choice somewhere else to come back. But hey, I'm not staking my reputation on that one. That is very much in the. I was gun to me head if I'm picking.
My wild card is Dennis Serkin to leave. That one's still contract situation still hasn't been sorted. We've signed 2 left backs. You never know. Dennis Serkin could be one to go. Let's see, mate. Let's see. There are our bold predictions, and I will clip that if it comes off. I don't want to see Dennis Serkin leave. Like, of course, I love him, but I do like being right as well. So, no.
Anyways, anyone who's listening to the top 10s would know Gav loves being right.
Yeah. Well, thank you, mate. Cheers for joining us. Thank you very much to the listeners. As I said before, loads coming up. So if you're not already subscribed, get subscribed to How Are the Podcast. We'll catch you later.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.